Welcome to the Coach and Crew Show.
As Devin just told me a couple of seconds ago, right before we hit recording, for the second consecutive game, which I didn't even realize this, final score was 17-15, Washington on top. Welcome to the Coach and Crew Show. For the fourth week in a row, we almost all three have smiles on our faces after narrowly escaping another win. Get 4 in a row. We're one of the hotter teams in the NFL. And next week is rivalry week with Dallas. We'll get to Dallas in a little bit. Let's do the good, the bad, the ugly this week. And we'll start with the good. So, Devin, what do you say was the good?
I would say us having a bend, don't break defense. Yes, we allowed them to outgain us in yards, but when it came down to third down conversions, when they were, I would say, on the 50-yard line, we would stop them, and then they would have to punt, and that's really what helped us the most this week.
Devin? Phil?
Good part was Antonio Gibson, obviously. I thought that he came to play, and he did an excellent job. I thought the offensive line did a real good job, and our tight end did a real good job. I don't really have much good to say about the rest of it, but I just thought that this game – I'm watching too much WWE because I thought it was all scripted. We went down on the first drive. We dominated the game. I thought we could have done that all game long. And after that, every time we got moving, we'd get a couple of first downs, and the officials would throw a flag. Questionable penalties. And I think they kind of controlled it. And then once they got the Raiders back even, they started throwing flags on the Raiders. So, and then that last Bobby McCain play, he was holding. That was obvious pass interference. We should have lost the game because of that. However, the refs, I think this was a referee game where they decided who won and lost.
Well, it's funny you say that. Michael Phillips has already tweeted out something's got to be done with the officiating overall for the year. So there's that. My good, I'm going to give it to the rookie Davis. What a tackle he made on that screen pass right towards the end of the game when Raiders had to settle for a field goal. Davis, I thought, had a real good game overall. That tackle was, yes, a professional level tackle. And considering he's a pro, it should be. But still, that was a real good read of a screen pass. That thing could have scored a touchdown on it. Other good, Phil, you alluded to it as well. I do want to give out a little bit of a shout out to the O-line because usually out of the three of us, I'm the most critical. Phil, looks like you have a comment you want to make.
No, I mean, Jamin Davis is getting better every game. And if I had to have a bright spot on the defense, it is Jamin Davis. He should be taking over for Holcomb. I mean, Holcomb was very uneven. He made a couple plays, but then he got destroyed on a couple of them. And I thought Jamin Davis, when he was in there, he makes plays. He does a good job.
So now to the bad, and usually I'm the line leader of this category as well, but for opposite, and that's Heinicke. I listen, I'm a Heinicke fan. I will be even after today, but he did a lot of throwing off your back heel throws, and he didn't just take the ball down and run nearly as enough as I thought he could be more effective. I don't know if it was the road environment. I don't know if it was the crowd noise, the pressure of the situation, or if this is going to be Taylor Heinicke. Sometimes you're just going to get the bad. But he was coming off his heel. It looked like a lot of throws. And one of those picks was a pick, but there was another throw near the end of the game that could have gone for 6 easily. And thank God the Raiders' defensive catching skills aren't the best. Bill, your version of the bad. Keep in mind, we'd like to keep it under 30 minutes.
No, that's true. Taylor Heinicke was not good today. Period. End of story. I don't think he made good decisions. He was thrown off his back foot. His one interception, his arm did get hit, but he's holding the ball too long. He should have ran a whole lot more than what he did. He did not look good at all. I felt like the defense was definitely way too vanilla. And then when they did try to pressure Carr, they were just laying off the receivers. It's like they were terrified of Deshaun Jackson getting behind them. And they just were way off. I mean, literally 15, 20 yards off the Raiders. And if Carr would have just had some patience and just worked the ball down all game long, they'd have beat us. End of story.
Devin, your version of the bad.
Well, to go off of the Heineke thing, from what I saw, most of the time when he was throwing off his back foot, he was getting pressured, and that's because Crosby in the interior of their D line was dominating our interior of the O line and getting back there. But there were some plays where he did throw off his back foot and had no need to. But then again, my big spot is we didn't blitz as much, and I feel like that was because of injuries and not having Landon Collins. But it would have been a whole different story if we were blitzing and playing harder coverage down on the receivers. And because we didn't have Landon Collins, we didn't send the packages that we usually send. And I feel like that would have messed up that whole offense.
All right, let's transition to the ugly. And Phil, you already alluded to this because you did a lot in the good side. But for me, the ugly, it's got to go to the officiating. And if anything else, 5 minutes before the injury occurred, they called either a Las Vegas linebacker or cornerback for illegal defensive blocking when they went low. But because it was inside the two tackle lines or whatever, when Logan Thomas gets cut on the same play, it's now a legal block, a legal defensive block, if you will. Oh, by the way, breaking news, he has torn his MCL and ACL. He's out for the season. I mean, that's not the only call. There was some calls that went our favor, but there was also some calls that went the Raiders' favor that I'm sorry, the officiating, just my part, was just today ugly. Phil, you're ugly. Well, we know you're ugly, but
Yeah, well, yeah, I've been told that by a lot of people, especially this week. I thought that was an intentional play by Ngukwe from the Raiders on Logan Thomas. I thought that was one of the dirtiest plays I have ever seen in the NFL, period. He took a shot at Logan Thomas's knee, plain and simple. That's my thought process there. I thought that was a real cheap shot. I was especially disappointed that some of the Skins, his teammates, didn't take a shot at Ngukwe the rest of the time, because that's when you high-low a guy and take your 15 yards and send him out too. That was a cheap shot. That was dirty. It was just a cross block where Thomas was coming over, and then Ngukwe just came and cut him, put his helmet and shoulder pad right on his knee, took a shot at him, and it was completely uncalled for. That's one of the dirtiest plays I've seen, because it was right out there in space. There was no reason to do that at all, period. And he did it anyway. I thought the Raiders had a couple of real nasty, cheap shots, a couple of them on Heineke that the offensive line did retaliate on. So I thought it was a kind of a dirty game on the Raiders' part, and they deserve to lose.
Phil, let me ask you this real quick, and then Devin, we'll get to you, because Phil, you might know this answer. Does the league go back on non-penalty calls and review plays for possible fines? Not that him getting fined is going to make any difference whatsoever to Logan Thomas, but just
they do on plays with shots to the head and stuff like that. I mean, NFL teams, they pull out plays and send them to the league, and the league looks at them, and they do go back and find guys if they find that there's a problem with that. I don't know if the Redskins will actually do that and pull that, but I thought that was a dirty play. I thought it was especially a dirty play.
All right, Devin, your version of ugly.
I can't say anything else. Y'all hit everything right on the head.
We left you Bobby McCain.
Well, I mean,
and Holcomb getting busted.
Hold up though. Bobby McCain, when it came down, he did pretty good during this game. He laid some hits. He had his bad, which is Bobby McCain. What do you expect? He shouldn't be out there, but he played good for how bad he is. And then Cole Holcomb.
And then the Raiders at the end of the game, when they needed a play, isolated on him, blew past him. He grabs the guy's jersey. Should have been a flag.
But if you watch the replay on it, the dude pushed off of him. So at the same time, they both should have had a call called on them, but since they both did it, it wasn't called.
I actually agree with Devin's point of view.
No, I mean, that's a good point. I just don't think the refs look at it that way.
Yeah, 100%. He should have been flagged. When I didn't watch the game, I listened to it on the radio because I was driving. When I saw it on the highlights, I really thought it looked like a penalty. But then I went back and watched it, and if you watch, he pushed off of him.
All right.
I mean, he was blowing Bobby McCain away. And you got Holcomb to work with too. He made a couple of real good plays, and then he got destroyed a couple of times. So it's I'm not a Holcomb fan. I think he's a special teamer. I don't think he's an NFL starting linebacker. I do think Jamin Davis is an NFL starting linebacker. And I hate to say it, damn, did we miss Landon Collins today? Holy cow.
Yeah, the defense looked totally different. There weren't certain blitzing packages and certain packages that we usually put in there that messes up offenses because he wasn't there. It was a total different defense.
Well, right now with the win, Washington sits at 6-6. They are 500 on the season after starting the season 2-6. On the back half, they're 4-0. Not only that, they've moved up to 6th in the NFC overall, which is inside the wild card line because this year they take 7. So they are on pace to be the 6th seed, which would then have them be playing, ironically, at Tampa Bay, which was where the wild card game was last year, but it was a home game that time around. Next up is Dallas. That's a big week coming up. It's rivalry week. Yes, I'm stealing that from the college football Heisman house, but still. Dallas is got it back together a little bit. They're 2 games ahead of Washington, and now the stretch run begins for Washington because every game they have left is divisional opponents. Philly, Giants, and Dallas, and then a couple of them 2 times over. Real quickly, initial thoughts. What's the Dallas game going to look like? Devin, we'll start with you.
Dallas can't run the ball. That simple. If we can send 3 or 4 people and stop them on the run and play high coverage on them and not let them get 15-yard outs and just keep throwing them and you get the game's over. I'm not high on Dallas. They look good some weeks. Other weeks, they don't look good. They aren't as good as everyone's saying they are, in my opinion. And then I feel like our offense can toast their defense by running the ball straight down their throat. They can't stop it. You just run it straight down the middle, sideline to sideline. They may have it, but right up the middle, they can't stop that.
All right, Phil.
NFL gave Dallas a huge advantage by having them come off of the Thursday night game. They've had 2 extra days of rest over our team to prepare. It's going to be a real tough one. If we lay back in these soft zones, they're going to pick us apart and destroy us. If Jack Del Rio continues to, on 3rd down, to run his wide tackle pass rush that never gets there and allows the quarterback to have a huge pocket to step up in or run it, Dak Prescott will run the ball, and he could be the leading rusher for Dallas because he could get 12 to 15 yards every 3rd down against our pass defense just on alignment alone. Del Rio's got to tighten it down and ditch some of his formations.
All right, let's do some quick shout outs. My shout out is going to be to the brand new kicker, our 4th kicker, Brian Johnson, 2 for 2 on extra points. Where if you
doesn't he play guitar for AC/DC? A lead singer.
He might be doing that as well, but right now we're pulling him out of the woodworks. So 2 for 2 for extra points and a clutch 48-yard field goal with only seconds remaining to give the Redskins the lead and ultimately the win. Where if you look throughout the league today, there were lots of missed extra points. So great job, Brian. I want to give you that shout out. Devin, a shout out or a game ball, however you want to do it.
I don't think y'all are going to like this one that much, but it's more of a quieter person. Humphreys. He always comes up with clutch catches and clutch moments. He's kind of a Danny Amendola. He gets open in the slot when it's a clutch moment, and that's why he deserves a shout-out. That's why I feel like coming up in the next few games, he will definitely sneak in there and have about 40-some yards or more, but they're all clutch catches.
I like that answer. Phil, shout out.
Our backup tight end, the rookie Bates, There's no coincidence that we can run the ball now that he's on the field. And he turns around and he makes 2 or 3 catches that are huge catches. He's not great, but he'll block well, and he finds the open spot in a zone and catches the ball and gets the first down. I can't ask for anything more from a kid.
Well, with that, hopefully next week, both Landon Collins and McKissick will both be back. I have not heard anything new yet. They haven't released the reports, but I kind of feel like both will be back next week. Are y'all feeling the same way?
I don't know about Collins, but McKissick, it depends upon his concussion syndrome, whether or not, he passes all the tests. Right now, if I was Washington, I'd offer the guy while he's hurt and he's not thinking straight, offer him in a contract extension. We need him to come back. Maybe we can get him on the cheap. But McKissick deserves every penny he's making. He was missed.
I feel like they'll both be back next week. From what I've seen from Collins, he doesn't look too hurt. And I think they'll have him limited this week. He may not practice first day. Next day he'll be limited. He'll play, I feel like. McKisson, it really all depends on how the concussion protocol goes. But I think him being out this week makes it so he will play next week. And I think they took him out this week to make sure he can play this week.
Yeah, but what about the center position? Because we cannot, that Ishmael, he's horrible.
I think it's just going to be a makeshift center until maybe for the rest of the season even. I don't know. That's a good question.
I think Schweitzer will be back next week too. There was a possibility he'd play this week. I'm not sure if he did. I didn't watch it.
He didn't play at all.
Nope.
Schweitzer didn't play at all. He was inactive.
From what I heard, there was a possibility of him playing this week. So I think he'll be back next week too. All
right. Well, next week is, like I said, the Dallas week at 1:00. So everybody will be hyped for that. But for the 4th time in a row, Washington came out on top for the 2nd time in a row, score of 17-15. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of our videos. Make sure you comment away and actually share them as well. Share them out if you find something interesting with them. But for Devin and Phil, this has been the Coach and Crew Show, and thanks for watching.